By now, you've heard about Global Poker, one of the fastest growing online card rooms available in the US and Canada today. So what's stopping you from trying it out? Global Poker is a safe and secure social poker site that uses their own patented sweepstakes model. Signing up is easy. You can use Google, Facebook, or just an email address. You can always play for free on Global Poker, but you can also buy gold coins for additional play, which will earn sweeps coins that can be redeemed for real cash to a bank account, Skrill account, or even as a gift card. Get a free 5,000 gold coins when you sign up right now at globalpoker.com.
Poker Stories is an audio series that features casual interviews with some of the game's best players and personalities. Each episode highlights a well-known figure in the poker world and dives deep into their favorite tales, both on and off the feld.
Hello and welcome to Poker Stories, a podcast brought to you by Card Player, the Poker Authority, and hosted by me, Julio Rodriguez. This is episode number 133, featuring Brad Owen. Brad, of course, is one of the most popular poker vloggers on YouTube. He originally found poker as a teenager when his dad started managing a local card room, and he continued to play even after earning his accounting degree. He took a job but realized that the 9-to-5 office life wasn't for him, and it wasn't long after that he moved to Las Vegas to start his career as a professional poker player. Brad spent years working on his game, grinding anonymously at the cash tables, but wanted a way to show his family back home what he was up to. That's when he took inspiration from his good friend and now business partner Andrew Neeme and started his vlog. The Northern California native posted his first video 5 years ago and has since racked up more than 600,000 subscribers. That puts him right up there with the likes of Daniel Negreanu for the most watched poker channel online today. In 2019, Brad won Poker Personality of the Year at the Global Poker Awards, and this year he returned and won the Best Vlogger Award. When he's not filming his own sessions, the 34-year-old is hosting meetup games with poker fans in card rooms all over the country, including his own card room, which he now co-owns with Andrew Neeme and Doug Polk in Texas at The Lodge. Most recently, Brad was named as a brand ambassador for the World Poker Tour, and he will continue to bring his meetup games and army of viewers with him from stop to stop. Anyway, that's enough intro. Here is my conversation with Brad Owen.
I am here with the one and only Brad Owen. Brad, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, but I'm staying here in Vegas. You're about to leave town, so I'm sure you got the travel stress creeping in, huh?
A little bit. Handful of things on the agenda today. I'm gonna let's see. I'm actually releasing a poker vlog. It just came out 5 minutes ago. And
no, I was just gonna ask about the latest one, and now I'm behind.
Yeah, well, it's okay. I've been putting out quite a few these days. So having an editor and having my brother help me out has just taken a lot off my plate. It's freed up some time, and what I mean by freed up some time is that I'm still working just as many hours, but putting out more content.
Oh, that's awesome. It seems like your output has been crazy this last year or so. Let's talk about where you're headed, because you're about to go to Choctaw for a little bit of pleasure, but mostly work, right? You have the meetup game, and then you also have a brand new partnership with the World Poker Tour as well, right?
Right. I'm headed out tomorrow. I'm going to be there until May 16th. I'm doing a meetup game May 12th. That's my first meetup game with World Poker Tour. Super excited about the whole trip, and I'll be firing in some tournaments as well, including the main event.
So what is exactly your deal with the World Poker Tour, and what are you going to be bringing to the table there?
It's a pretty sweet gig. I'm going to be wrapped up when I play poker, and I'm going to be going to as many stops as I can. You know, there's a minimum of 6 that I'm required to go to under the contract, but I really want to try to make it to as many as I'm physically, able to go to without getting too burnt out. And then they just did a soft launch of their online platform, I don't know how much I can talk about that since they haven't really been marketing it too much, but I am going to be streaming some of their online events and some cash games online as well.
Well, that sounds like a stay tuned situation over there. Let's talk about tournaments a little bit, because I know you've been primarily a cash game player. Are you polishing up the tournament game at all for this new partnership?
I could be doing a little bit more. I'm not going to lie, but I'm super excited to get into the tournament streets. Tournament poker is really what got me, what helped me, develop my passion for the game. Watching Moneymaker, watching Raymer, those main event series back in the day, that was really fun for me to watch. And I would play, some sit and goes, and tournament poker is what made me fall in love with the game. And then I kind of realized that cash game is more steady income to play as a living. But I am excited to get back in the tournament streets. I think there's nothing really more exciting than running deep in a tournament. That just doesn't happen all that often for me. So it is going to be cool to study some tournament theory and start playing a lot more this year.
Oh, you did go deep in the online WSOP main event a couple years ago. So, or was it last year?
That was summer of 2020. Yeah. So that was a really cool summer for me because I'd never really fired all that many tournaments. And that trip to Cabo gave me an opportunity to develop my poker, both online and my tournament game actually. So that was a unique experience for me. And I feel like I've gotten to be a lot better tournament player since then.
Well, at this show, we like to hear the origin story of how you got to where you are today. So let's go back to the beginning to, was it Santa Rosa? Was that where you were born and raised?
Yeah, born and raised in Santa Rosa. My dad had a job basically flipping rundown card rooms in California. So,
this is in NorCal?
Yeah.
Okay, like just outside the Bay Area?
Right, yeah, just a little bit north of San Francisco, about an hour north.
Right, so for those that don't know, California is full of like these smaller they're just essentially just card rooms. They're not casinos at all, right?
Right, you can play blackjack and maybe a few other games that are considered skill games, but that's about it. They don't have slot machines or anything. The tribal casinos do have slot machines, but these are separate licenses from those properties.
So your dad's job was basically to come in and do what?
Well, his company would purchase card rooms. They would renovate them. They would, maybe replace new staff. They would just get things running more properly. And then sometimes they would hold on to those properties, and then sometimes they would then sell them to, some other group. Okay.
And then one day he's got a gig that requires him to learn poker. Is that how it worked?
Yeah, for his whole, he was the general manager also of one particular property in Petaluma. At that time, it was called, I think it was called Joe's or something, Sonoma Joe's. And then my mom actually was part of the renaming process. They renamed it to the 101 Casino, which is not to be confused with the Bay 101. And now I believe it's called like Parkway or something like that. But it's in Petaluma, so it's 40 minutes or so north of San Francisco. And he had to learn all the casino games, and he brought home this CD-ROM game called Hoyle Casino 2003. At that time, Moneymaker, was winning the main event. It was on television all the time. So I would play this CD-ROM game where you could play limit hold'em tournaments on there against simulated opponents. And so that's where I kind of developed my first skills in the game and learning the rules and everything. And I just had a blast playing it. And my brother was doing the same thing. He's 4 years older. So I was about 15 at the time, and I would play poker with my brother and my dad also, and my brother's friends around the kitchen table, and just really loved it, and continued played against friends in high school. And I just noticed that I happened to have a knack for it right away. It was like the first thing I could ever beat my older brother at, who was, bigger, stronger, faster, and better looking. So I just immediately loved it.
So what were the signs? Was it just a matter of you winning, or did you notice something in the other players that they just weren't thinking about the game that you were?
I don't really remember thinking back on it. I just remember, having better results than them and thinking about the game in a different way. I could tell right away that they didn't think about the game the same way that I did.
Yeah, more face up, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so what were you getting into before then? What was your trajectory headed? What were you into?
Well, I was always into sports and various competitions. Loved like board games with my brother growing up. But at 17, I remember telling my dad that I wanted to play poker for a living, and he said, "I never want to hear you say that again."
Yeah, he'd seen enough of poker players by that point, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, he'd seen people lose everything that they had at playing blackjack in the card room that he was a part of, and he didn't want me going down that road. My mom had an uncle who I guess was, a wealthy guy, and he lost everything that he had gambling. So, neither of them had these positive images of people who were in the gambling industry and who gambled for a living.
Well, that's crazy that at 17 you were so sure of yourself. I mean,
yeah, you never really
that in love with the game, huh?
Yeah, I just loved it immediately. I loved the idea that I could play a card game and make money at it. It was a lot of fun. I loved hanging out with my friends and my family and playing with them. So I didn't have any negative experiences associated with it. And I went to school in San Diego where you could play at 18 at the tribal casinos because they didn't have their liquor licenses. They were down these long, windy roads. So I played 3/6 limit at Verona quite a bit. And then from there, I started dabbling in the no limit streets, playing 1-2 and 1-3 at various places, and continued studying. I was reading a lot of books. I noticed that no one at that time was really studying, and it was kind of baffling to me that people weren't really trying to get better at the game outside of playing at the tables.
Right, so this was 2006?
2006 to 2010 is when I went to University of San Diego.
Okay, did you finish and get a degree?
I did. I got a degree in accounting, and we were going through the recession at that time, so it wasn't a good time to graduate college, especially with an accounting degree. I went through the recruiting process, and I was honestly just a little bit too immature to really have a job in accounting, and those openings were scarce. So I was pretty dejected when I graduated in 2010, and I had to move back in with my parents in Santa Rosa, but there was a casino. It was actually a proper casino that you could play at 21 called River Rock, and that was about a half hour north of Santa Rosa in Geyserville. And so I was playing poker there quite a bit and doing really well. I was 22, and they had this $100 satellite for the main event. And people just weren't good at poker in that area. And so the $100 satellite was the biggest tournament buy-in that I'd ever played. And I ended up winning the $100 satellite and got a seat to the main event at 22, and was just so happy and excited to play. It was kind of like just a bucket list thing for me to play the main event. And my buddy who I grew up with, his name's Ian Tavelli. He got, I think, 17th in the main event the year before, and he won $500,000 for that. So I was kind of thinking, if he had won, if he had made it this deep and almost won, maybe I can do the same thing.
Right, the hometown hero scores, and it's the blueprint for everybody else.
Yeah.
So you graduate from college, you're at home and you're playing a lot of cards, and I'm sure your parents are giving you the side eye, right? Like, is he ever gonna get his shit together? What's gonna happen here? When does it start to take off and you go, okay, I'm gonna do this for a living?
Well, it was always in the back of my mind, and I'd had some success in college playing, and then when I when I won that seat to the main event, that's when things, I think, really began to turn in my parents' eyes as well. I was top 50 in my flight for the main event for day one, and then I got boat over boated day two, and I got knocked out, and I was devastated and had nightmares about the hand that kind of crippled me for years, actually. I feel like even within the last year or two, I've had a nightmare about that hand. But then I moved to San Francisco with two buddies, and we lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. So one of my best friends, he was living in the living room, and I got a job at the apartment complex. So I was in property management, showing people around and leasing apartments to clients. And I was playing at Lucky Chances a lot. So I was playing 2-5, and I won a few like local tournaments for like $1,000 and $1,500. And a lot of the people who were in those tournaments knew my parents, and they were telling my parents, that I'm a really good poker player. And, I was kind of like a hometown hero poker player at that point. And I didn't really enjoy my job leasing apartments. So I worked that job for a year and a half. Then I decided to move to Vegas to give it a shot full time.
It's an interesting perspective that your dad has, right? Because a lot of parents, when I talk to pros about them having that conversation, the parents had no idea about that world. But your dad having that connection to it must have made it so much scarier.
Sure. I mean, he literally would see people lose everything they owned at places that, he worked at and managed. And so he was very fearful that was going to be my path.
How different was Vegas for you from the hometown casino?
It was a lot different. There were, for one thing, for me, I didn't have any friends when I moved out here initially. So I was living on my own, and I didn't have a full-time job anymore. Just that initial moment when you quit your job and you're like, this is it. I'm completely on my own. That first day when you have that freedom, you don't really know what to do with it. And it's a scary feeling, but it's exciting. And I always felt like I had to be the hardest boss on myself if I'm going to be my own boss. So I just studied poker a ton and really focused on playing. But I had like $10,000 in cash when I moved out to Las Vegas. So it was super important for me to do well right off the bat.
Not a lot of bullets.
Not a lot of bullets, yeah. But my expenses were minimal. So there were a handful of things that I did properly. But bankroll management in the beginning wasn't something that really almost existed for me. I was playing 2-5 with $10K to my name. I did have $10,000 in stocks that I just didn't want to have to dip into, but that was there as a reserve for me.
And also loving parents, with a room you'd seen before.
Yeah, loving parents, but I think that they were kind of somewhat rooting for me to fail, just to kind of get this part done with in my life,
Yeah, let's let him live out his dream for a little bit, and then he'll go take the numbers gig.
Yeah.
Okay, so having that accounting background, did you find that made you more risk averse initially? I know obviously people who've watched you over the years have seen just how much you've gambled in the past and moved up in stakes.
Yeah. Excuse me. I think I was naturally kind of risk adverse. I think from having that full-time job and understanding how hard it was to make $1,000 or $10,000 from that job made me not want to gamble, and just fear of failure made me kind of risk adverse. A lot of hit and runs when I was first starting out. And that was probably one of my biggest mental leaks, was just that I wanted to book wins, and I probably wasn't playing in games as long as I should have when the games are good. And I was probably playing too long when the games weren't good.
Yeah, I've heard you talk about booking wins and how it can sometimes be great for your psyche when you've been on a losing streak. But I imagine things are different for you when you're at the tables and you're vlogging, knowing when to get up, versus stick around in the game.
Yeah, for vlogs in particular, I actually really enjoy winning too. So I do stick around for a really long time, even to this day. But usually when I'm down, a lot of the times it's because I didn't get a good run of cards and the game is still pretty decent. So I typically feel like I'm one of the best players at any table that I sit at. And so I want to stick around until I get the win. I'm just a competitive person, and I like to win.
Well, let's talk about this vlog. When did it first come to be? I know you had been watching the pioneer himself, Andrew Neeme, and took some inspiration for him. But when did this happen, and what did you think you could bring to the space?
Yeah, it was 2016. I saw Andrew's vlog right when he put it out. I saw his first vlog, and I played with Andrew quite a bit at Red Rock. The previous years leading up to him doing actually this Instagram thing that he was doing where he was putting out a picture of playing poker like every day or something. And then he started with the vlog, and I was just really surprised that he put himself out there. And I was so impressed with it. I'd never seen anybody show something that depicted what my life was like so much, as a poker player who was grinding, 2-5 and occasionally taking shots at 5-10. So I thought it was so cool what he was doing, but I felt like the way that he was showing things was very artistic, and that was neat. But I viewed poker differently, where I thought it was pretty comical, and I wanted to kind of showcase my friends more because I was kind of just living the dream at that point. I was 27 and taking these poker trips with my buddies, and we were all kind of joking around and having drinks. And so I really wanted to incorporate more of a comical side to my vlogs.
Well, I was going to talk to you about your I was going to ask you, actually, did you watch a lot of SNL growing up?
I watched a little bit of it. SNL, it's a pretty long show, and not all are that good.
We used to run marathons on Comedy Central for hours every day. I have this theory that, people who are good with references watched a lot of comedy growing up.
Yeah.
You're particularly great with references in your writing for your voiceover work on your vlogs. So, yeah, where did that come from, if not SNL? Like, what were your influences growing up?
I guess I really liked a lot of comedy shows. I grew up kind of watching Seinfeld. I loved The Office. That's probably still my favorite show. And then a handful of other comedies. I can't really think about all of them at the moment, but yeah, I just really liked.
But did you watch a lot of content growing up? Consume a lot of content?
I guess I watched a lot of stand-up kind of in my college years, and then after that, I really love stand-up comedy to this day, and I go once a month or sometimes more to local comedy clubs. SNL, I did really like. I liked all the kind of popular sketches I would watch. I loved watching like Caddyshack and Stripes, like Bill Murray stuff, and
because sometimes you'll make a joke and I'm like, man, that's way before his time.
Yeah. Some of that comes from my dad. The movies that he really enjoyed, he kind of passed on to us. So
you're vlogging, you're throwing in the comedy, you got you're inventing terminology like hand nicknames and such. The pocket jiggities and whatnot.
Yeah, it's crazy how that caught on. You just throw out some stuff, and sometimes people enjoy it, and then sometimes things fall flat. But what I like about the vlogs is I really enjoy the comedy aspect of it, actually, more than I enjoy helping people with poker. If I can make people laugh, like, that's infinitely more fun for me than anything else. And the jiggities thing just kind of took on a whole life of its own that I was really surprised at. I thought this was just this sort of dumb name that I would throw out there for Pocket Jacks, and now it's become much bigger.
So let's talk about your first hater. What did that feel like the first time you got a negative comment or someone didn't like it? Because the problem with putting out a vlog is, even if it's mostly positive, there's still going to be a couple jerks out there who are stomping all over you.
Yeah. It was really overwhelmingly positive from the moment that I put out the first video, though, which I was shocked at. I put out my first video in December of 2016, and an hour later, it had 16 views or something, and I was strongly considering taking it down. I thought, this is a dumb idea. I don't know what I'm doing with video editing. I'm not sure that I want my family and friends to see this anymore. Because my initial goal was to have my family and friends see it and understand what my life was like. And I thought if they understood, they would kind of accept my chosen career path a lot more. And so, I almost took it down an hour after I put it up. Luckily, I didn't. The views started coming in after that. I think I had maybe a couple hundred views after the first day. A lot of people were commenting really positive stuff, and that was great. I think everybody just was thankful to have kind of my insight and be very honest about the good and bad things that happen. I won $10 my first session or my first vlog, so it's not like it was super impressive or anything. But I don't really remember the first hateful comment that I got. I went into it knowing that there were going to be haters or negative comments, and because there weren't as many as I anticipated, I was pretty happy overall. So I do remember getting some comments after, and some of them stung. Some of them have a little bit of truth to them, or maybe some of them are lies that I don't want my family to see or think are true. I think those ones are the ones that bother me the most.
Yeah, but there's a vulnerability to putting yourself out there, and just saying everyone can comment on this. It takes a lot of balls, even more so than sitting down at some high stakes games at times.
Yeah, the hardest thing probably with YouTube is just putting out that first video and just being vulnerable and susceptible to any kind of criticism.
I remember when those videos first started popping off like 6-7 years ago, and I thought, these guys are playing low stakes. Who's gonna watch this if it's not for significant money? These low camera angles. And then I watched one, I think it was Andrew's, and I was immediately hooked. And I got it. You get to follow along in this journey with these people and see plays that you yourself would make from time to time. I love it. That's some of my favorite content now is the vloggers out there. Like you, Andrew, Mariano's great as well. I think it showed that content can come from anywhere in the poker space.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You kind of bring up a good point that I had forgotten about. Was we weren't universally accepted when we first started, especially from the higher stakes guys. I think Doug would be one of the first people to tell you that he initially thought they were pretty stupid as well. A handful of other people that had higher profiles than us, people who I looked up to in the poker industry, thought they were pretty silly. And maybe that kind of hurt more than any actual comments I was getting from random strangers misspelling words and various things.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about what's your channel's looking like these days. 605,000 subscribers, which is an insane number of people. And you recently won the Best Vlogger Award at the recent Global Poker Awards. Congratulations on that.
Thanks.
So what's your profession these days? Are you a YouTuber or are you a poker player? At a certain point, one kind of takes precedence over the other, right?
I suppose so. I mean, I don't really think about it so much other than when I get asked this question, but certainly the majority of my income comes from YouTube these days. For me, I always consider myself a poker player. I'm a professional poker player at heart. I had to go through a lot of struggles and was way more interested in poker than I ever was in doing any kind of content stuff. I never imagined doing YouTube content. And I just used that as a vehicle to have people understand what poker was like. And still, all the YouTube content is based around me playing. So I don't have that revenue stream unless I play. So definitely consider myself a professional poker player. And then, everything else is kind of secondary in my mind.
How often are you thinking about the channel, the content in the middle of a hand? Because I can't imagine you can shut that off. I have to think maybe in a 50-50 spot you're going to lean towards the more exciting play.
Yeah, I think that in some ways it's helpful because in the past I've had difficulties having the courage to pull the trigger in spots, and I think doing the more aggressive line definitely makes for better poker content. So I think that having that in the back of my mind occasionally gives me the courage to go for it. If I'm on a downswing and I put out a couple losing videos in a row, it goes the other way, and maybe I'll shy away from taking the more aggressive line because I don't want to look like an idiot if it doesn't work out. But that's the thing in poker, it's that there is such a fine line between looking like a genius and looking like an idiot.
And not even just making the more entertaining play, but the pressure of making the correct play, knowing somebody's going to be watching it. I know that you mentioned that you get coaching from Nick Petrangelo. Mm-hmm. I interviewed Nick Petrangelo for the cover a few issues back, and he was talking about the pressure that he feels is from the rest of the high stakes community, because all of their tournaments are streamed on Poker Go, and they're all watching every hand, looking for each little weakness to exploit. So
yeah,
I imagine being under that microscope is an intense pressure that most people don't get to experience in poker.
Yeah, it is, but it kind of keeps me from doing some dumb things too and getting impatient, because I do always want to play my best for the vlog. And I think that I actually play better now when I am videoing, despite there being a handful of different distractions, wanting to make sure the camera's on while the hand is going, and then having to write down every detail immediately after the hand is over before I forget them. That's all tough stuff. And now that the vlog has gotten bigger, there's occasionally people that come over and say hi to me, and so there's just so much stuff going on, and also for meetup games, you're trying to host the event, you're trying to be sociable. These people, maybe it's their first time ever meeting you, and so you want to make sure everybody's having a good time as well. So that's there's a lot going on for meetup games, but I think that I feel a lot more pressure under streamed games because the viewers are watching me play every single hand, and you got to be worried about the VPIP. I'm worried about what's going on in Chatsville, as they call it on the Lodge live stream. When viewers watch the YouTube channel, I'm playing, my VPIP's 100%. So if I'm playing a live game that I've told people that I'm going to be playing and they're watching, there's maybe thousands of people watching me play. They want to see me get involved as much as possible. So I feel like there's a lot more pressure, and my mind is on, what people are saying in the chat a lot more than maybe when I'm vlogging a session.
And I was just thinking about, on the flip side of you taking the more aggressive line for entertainment or whatever, there's also the reality that people are taking the more aggressive line against you because they want to make the vlog. So now you have to call wider than maybe GTO says. There's no chart, there's no solver that factors in the variable of being famous.
Yeah, people definitely take their shots and go after me more, and they call me lighter, which means that I have to play tighter as well and bluff in fewer spots.
Yeah, I imagine there's a constant adjustment game you have to play, or just an evaluation. Does this person know me? Do they know that I'm, recording right now?
Right. I try to figure out the last vlog that they saw of me and what I did in that vlog, and maybe play a slightly different style of poker than maybe was in that vlog.
All right. Well, you alluded to Doug and obviously the Lodge, which is located in Round Rock, Texas, near Austin. You are now part owner along with the aforementioned Mr. Neeme and Doug Polk. How did that come to be?
Well, Andrew and I have been doing meetup games in Texas for several years now, and we always kind of had the idea of floating around of potentially owning our own club rather than doing marketing for other companies. It seems like it'd be great to do marketing for our own place. So we had thought about it for a while, and then Doug retired from poker. He
several times.
Yeah, then he goes out to Austin. Didn't know poker existed in Austin, is getting a coffee somewhere, sees a club, walks into it, and then kind of has this aha moment of maybe I can own my own card club out here. Then he ends up being my coach for this 25K WPT Heads Up event in June of last year. And we talk about a variety of things. That's where I met Nick Petrangelo for the first time. So me, Doug, and Nick grabbed coffee, and we're talking about potentially doing a course together. And then I tell Doug, I actually mentioned to him that I was interested in maybe owning a club, and maybe it would all work out for us to do that together. And he had the same thought. And we talked about opening up our own brand new club, and we got a bunch of guys involved. We realized we have no idea how to run the operations of a card room, and it would probably take us about a year and a half, maybe longer, to get up and running. At that time, Doug was going around talking to different club owners in the Austin area, and Jason at the Lodge had this idea that we just team up together. They had just leased this new space and had around 60 tables for it. That's the current spot now. And I think that he saw a lot of value in a partnership with us, and it saved us a ton of time, saved us from the hassle of trying to figure out the operations side, because they were, it was well known that they were number one in operations before we got involved. So it just ended up being kind of the perfect partnership for all of us.
Yeah, you would have had to call your dad in to help you.
I did consider having him help us, as a consultant.
Yeah, he's been there, done that, right? Yeah. All right, so you're living in Las Vegas. I think you just got a new house in Las Vegas?
I did, yeah. I just purchased a new place. So I'm living with my girlfriend and her two daughters now. So it's all new within the last month.
Congratulations, but I imagine that makes it a little difficult owning a physical casino or card room in Texas.
It does, but Andrew and I are used to the travel grind. We were doing all kinds of meetup games, even internationally, before the pandemic. We were getting a little bit burnt out, so as bad as the pandemic was, it was nice to have a little break from the travel grind. But Austin's one of my favorite cities, so I'm happy to go out there. I just got back, and I'll be going out again in a week or so.
And how does the poker compare to Las Vegas? I know you haven't run the greatest at your own casino yet.
Hold on, Julio. There's a vlog that came out today where things turn around, and then there's another one Thursday that'll come out, and I have my biggest win ever at the Lodge. So things have completely turned around that last poker trip. I'm now profitable at the Lodge, and yeah, things are going great. So I'm excited to put those vlogs out. That'll be cool. But the poker is nuts. You're right. There's just a ton of variance. That first trip, I absolutely got wrecked. I lost 12,000 my first day on stream there in what was listed as a 5-10 plus game. That ended up being 5-10, 20. I think it was 5-10, 25, 50, 100, 200, 400 for a lot of the hands, and that game went well past when the stream ended. I was stuck 26,000 at the low point, which was at that time the most I'd ever been stuck by more than double.
Oh man, that's gotta be so sickening.
Yeah, but then I ended up winning a big pot where I cooler Doug after the stream had ended, where I boat over flushed him, and that was like a $25,000 pot. So that was the biggest pot I'd ever won at that point. And then later that week, I played the highest stakes I'd ever played. It was a 100-200 game, and it was 100-200-400 for a lot of it, where I immediately was down 33,000. So I broke the previous record set a couple days before for the most I'd ever been stuck in a session. But I got all of that back pretty much within the session. I got 31,000 of it back. I only ended up losing 2,000 in 100-200, which I was actually really proud of.
That feels like a win.
Yeah. So despite getting wrecked, I really did a lot to minimize the damage and only ended up losing 15,000 when I was stuck 40-something thousand at the low point. And then since then, I've recovered all of that. So, yeah.
Well, congrats on the upswing, and congrats on the new business arrangement, I guess.
Yeah, we had some issues with the stream. There were some lag issues, and it was cutting out. We had to take down the stream for a while, but we recently got it back up a few weeks ago, and it's much improved. We're actually building out a whole room for the stream that we'll be relocating to that room in a couple months, and I'm just super excited, super proud of everybody who's worked on it. They put a ton of time and effort into getting it to where it is now, and I think it's one of the best streams out there, and there's still a little bit more room for it to improve beyond that.
This is called The Lodge on YouTube?
The Lodge Live is the YouTube channel.
The Lodge Live, so go check that out if you guys want to see some poker action at home. We have some rapid-fire questions to wrap things up if you're ready to go.
All right, let's do it.
How often do you get called Owen Brad?
Almost never. I get called Andrew Neeme more often than I get called Owen Brad.
Oh, is that who you get mistaken for?
Or Brad Owens with an S at the end.
We have a question here. Do you have a celebrity doppelganger? Or growing up, did people tell you look like somebody?
Jim Halpert from The Office is probably what I've gotten the most. Just my expressions and my personality is kind of similar. That's what I got the most growing up. But I don't think I look too much like very many celebrities.
Why is Brad always staring at the camera and making a face? It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Jim Halpert. Okay. Favorite, most prized possession.
Probably one of my guitars, I think.
Oh, is this the Butterscotch Telecaster I'm always seeing behind you?
Yeah, I mean, that's my favorite one to play now. That's pretty much the only guitar that I pick up at the moment. I love how it plays, so I really enjoy that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually staring at a knockoff version of it, a Butterscotch Telecaster. My daughter has one on the wall, the Squire version, though.
Ah, okay.
Yours is a little nicer. Well, we have a question here. If you started a band, what instrument would you play, and what would you name the band?
Let's see. I mean, I would definitely play guitar. I actually wrote a lot of songs growing up. So my vocal range is like 1.5 octaves, but I can stay within that pretty well. So yeah, I think I would be singer and guitar player.
Not a Mariah Carey, you are, but
Right.
So wait, so how did the musical career go as a kid? Did you start any bands with the neighborhood youth?
I played in the 8th grade talent show. We had a band called Central Idea, which was a terrible band name, and our band was not good. So we matched our talent with our band name. And then,
did you play an original for the talent show, or was it?
Yeah. I wish that we didn't, but we did.
Is this footage exist?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't.
Somebody's got to find that and put it on YouTube.
Yeah, it would be pretty funny. But then I played in some bands in high school and college as well. Yeah.
Okay. Any glory moments up on stage?
No. So that's the thing, is that we only did like one show. We did two shows in high school. We did one at my friend's party freshman year, and then I did another show my senior year for like some charity thing. And I have terrible stage fright. So I was afraid of doing any kind of shows, and I didn't really seek out doing shows. I just played guitar in these bands too. I didn't sing. There were other singers. I started singing more in college.
Oh, I was about to say, if you're the front man, it's probably not good to have stage fright.
Right. Yeah. No, I mostly just started singing in college, and I would just record a lot of stuff on GarageBand. That was kind of my favorite thing, was to just record and make a lot of songs, and then send them to a few close friends who listened to the same bands that I did growing up, or who I played music with in high school. And that was about it.
Super cool. What about the best swap or piece you've ever had of anybody?
Wow. You know what? There weren't, I haven't really won big in any swaps. Being a cash game guy, I haven't swapped too much, and I haven't bought too many pieces of friends, because my friends are mostly all cash game players. So, yeah, I mean, there's nothing even in the five figures. There's some four-figure stuff, but that's about it. None even really come to mind that I can think of right now.
What was the worst job you had before poker?
I'm a CPA technically still. I'm inactive, but I went broke in poker after my initial stint in Las Vegas, and then I got my master's in accounting and worked for Ernst & Young, and it was just brutal. They overwork you and underpay you, and the future isn't so bright being an accountant in Las Vegas working for one of the big four firms. So that's why I went back to poker in 2015.
If you could download one skill instantly, like the Matrix, what would you choose?
I would choose the ability to sleep immediately. My girlfriend is borderline narcoleptic, and she just goes right to bed. So, like, if her head hits the pillow, she'll be asleep within 10 seconds. And poker, sometimes, after a long session, I still have a lot of adrenaline going, particularly after high stakes sessions, if there's been a lot of big pots or something, and maybe I have some vlog stuff on my mind. So it's tough for me to get to sleep pretty often.
Yeah, you got to turn your brain off, but it's already 4 a.m.
And I'll drink a ton of caffeine during poker sessions as well, to try and be as alert as possible. So that doesn't help with the sleep either.
And you got to jump time zones now to go to your business.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be a good skill for you for sure. What was your largest non-poker wager?
Largest non-poker wager. Okay. I'm sure somewhere in the four figures after the Global Poker Awards this last year. We went to Javier's with a big group of people. Then we fired in craps, and then a lot of people went to bed, but Andrew and I kept the party going, and we fired one more bet in craps. And this is just the most recent kind of large wager that I made, and I bet 1,200 or 1,300, and I won on the first roll, and then I just snap picked up. And so that was fun for me. but yeah, I mean, there aren't too many bigger ones than that. I don't really play table games. I avoid them. I don't really have any itch to play them, even when I walk through the casinos. I've had plenty of bad experiences, and I just know it's a major league that other poker players have. I know a guy, one of my best friends out here, he won a gold bracelet in 2009, I think, and he's won millions of dollars playing poker and lost millions in playing table games and slots. So I've seen that firsthand, or not firsthand, I guess, but I just don't ever want to go down that route, and I try to be as responsible as I can with my money.
Not to mention Dad's seen it too. You don't want to disappoint Dad. All right. If you could name the entertainment for the Super Bowl halftime show, who would you choose? And you can choose whatever you want. There are no rules.
The entertainment for a halftime show? Wow, really getting out there with some of these questions, huh?
I know. I'm a little all over the place.
You know what would be cool? A Cirque du Soleil show at halftime. That'd be awesome.
Right? It doesn't have to be music.
Yeah.
Okay. The weirdest place you've ever played poker for money?
Let me think on this one. We can cut out some of the time that I'm thinking for the edit. Weirdest place that I played poker. Let's see. I did play strip poker with my girlfriend in high school in my room. While my family was home. So I'm glad that no one walked in on that. I did, and I won.
Heads up.
Yeah.
Well, you're gonna win either way.
She knew what she was doing, what she was getting into. Yeah.
No matter what, it's a win.
Yeah.
Any underrated food combinations?
Underrated food combinations. Pepperoni and pineapple pizza.
Really?
Yeah,
Ooh,
delicious.
It'd be so tart.
It's really good. You gotta try it out.
All right. Are you superstitious at all?
I'm not. I think a little bit superstitious. When I would go to poker rooms, since I first started playing poker in casinos, I try to pick up some trash in the parking lot and throw it out as I walk into the casino, just to clean up the place a little bit and maybe get some good karma points.
Oh, that's smart. And it makes it look a little nicer as well. I thought for a second that you were going to quote The Office there when I asked you that one and say, I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious.
Is that a Michael Scott quote?
That's a Michael Scott, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I do remember hearing that one, yeah.
What about any phobias?
I don't like sharks. So yeah, swimming. I do want to swim with great whites though. You can go to South Africa and a few other places, but being in open water, I don't like seeing anything around me. A few times I've seen dolphins and seals, and it freaks me out because I think that they're going to be great white sharks. But I grew up in Northern California where there are a lot of great whites, and a couple people have died from doing something called like abalone diving. And so the seals eat the abalone and the sharks eat the seals. So there are some horror stories of just ab divers getting decapitated.
Brutal. All right, a few more and I'll let you go here. Longest session ever?
Not that long compared to some contemporaries. My longest session ever is probably 18 hours.
All right, still longer than I could do, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have that endurance in me at all. Who was your celebrity crush growing up?
Angelina Jolie and Britney Spears.
Okay. Well, Britney resides in Vegas, so you could always
there's still time.
Ring her doorbell.
Yeah.
Do you collect anything?
I kind of collect poker chips now. My mom gave me this thing recently where it's just like a frame with placeholders for chips. And so I kind of want to fill that up with chips from meetup games that Andrew and I do.
Super cool. Oh, yeah, you're going to get to see so many different card rooms. It's going to be it's also market research for you.
Yeah.
What's the most beautiful place you've ever seen in person?
Let's see. I've been to Maui a few times, and I love it there. Anytime I get an opportunity to go to Hawaii, I take it.
If you had to live for 1 month as an animal, what would you choose and why?
I think I'd be a lion. I just like lions. I think they're kind of majestic animals.
They are hunted in certain parts.
Are they? Well, you took it to a dark place there.
They're also what if you end up as a lion in the zoo? Now you're basically in jail for a month.
Yeah, but I think that that's true of pretty much any animal, right?
Yeah, looks like it. Strategically, you're not likely to die, though, I think, if you pick lion.
Yeah, I think you're at the top of the food chain, the king of the jungle.
I think I choose hibernating bear. Do you like telling people you're a professional poker player?
I don't, especially because I'm only telling people who aren't familiar with me that I'm a professional poker player. So in my mind, their mind immediately goes to, oh, so you are a professional loser. You know, most people don't understand poker and equate it similar to being like a slot machine player.
At least you could just drop the, check out my YouTube channel and then.
Yeah, I guess so. But that's another thing that people don't necessarily equate to success. So then I just feel like I have like a ton of explaining to do anytime I'm asked, what I do for a living. And so it puts me in an uncomfortable situation where I don't think people are going to fully understand.
And all you want to do is just get out of the Uber.
Yeah, exactly.
If you were an actor, what kind of roles would you be typecasted for?
Let's see. If I was an actor, I think that I would be in some kind of comedy, something similar to like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia or something like that. Going back to The Office, maybe a Jim Halpert role. I would like to have that kind of a role where I'm just a little bit goofy, obviously not some kind of like stud dude or anything, but maybe a relatable character that people root for and enjoy watching, and maybe I can make people laugh. Similar to the vlog, I suppose.
Any near-death experiences?
Other
than sharks?
Not too many near-death experiences. One time I fell into a pool when I was young, and actually a couple times. One time I dove in to see if I could swim, and I couldn't, and my brother and his friend had to dive in and save me. The other time I was riding my bike around the pool, and I fell in, and my brother saved me again that time.
He should have been a lifeguard. Do you use any movie quotes on a regular basis?
No, not really. I make a lot of dumb jokes on a regular basis, a lot of dad jokes. So I'm perfect to slide in this role where I'm living with my girlfriend and her two little girls, because they're at the ages, they're 11 and 8. So my dumb humor, they still think is funny. I think my girlfriend probably gets annoyed sometimes.
There you go. What is your bold prediction for poker's future?
I think I would love to look at the numbers, but I feel like we're now at a point where we've surpassed that initial poker boom. We had that boom when Moneymaker won and all the online sites were up and running, and Poker After Dark and high stakes poker shows were running all the time on television. Then Black Friday hit, and poker took a big dip. But I think with all the content from streamers and poker vloggers and Poker Go, I think we've slowly climbed up and now surpassed the previous peak of the early 2000s. So I'm really excited to see how the WSOP goes this year and see what kind of numbers we get with the main event and just for the WSOP overall. And
finally, we end the podcast the same way every time with a question from the random question generator. There we go. When you fantasize about having superpowers, as we all do, what are you using them for?
Flying would be great. I like that idea. Avoiding all traffic, getting to places on time, and just that feeling of being in the air and being free. It's kind of why I chose poker, because I like the freedom of poker and being my own boss. And I like the idea of being able to fly to avoid all other constraints.
You wouldn't want X-ray vision or
I don't think so.
Mind reading abilities?
I think mind reading abilities would be one that you immediately regret, probably.
Probably.
Like if you can't turn it off,
Oh, yeah. Everyone shut up.
Yeah.
You can only play poker heads up.
And just knowing what people actually think about things all the time probably wouldn't be beneficial. X-ray vision, I guess that would be pretty cool. I was thinking like invisibility as well, but I think you're just too tempted to abuse those kind of abilities, where I don't think with flying that's the case so much.
You're going to get shot down out of the sky.
Probably, yeah. Also, if you have those kind of abilities, it's not long before the government finds out about it, and then all of a sudden they're doing experiments on you and trying to use you for nefarious purposes. It's just a big headache.
Well, now we're just describing one of the X-Men movies.
Yeah. Yep.
Brad, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing the stories.
Happy to be on here, man. Thanks a lot.
That's it. That is the show. Thank you once again to Brad. If you somehow haven't caught any of his videos yet, do yourself a favor and search for Brad Owen Poker on YouTube. You can also find Brad on the World Poker Tour or at his latest meetup games, all of which get announced on his Twitter at @TheBradOwen or at Instagram at BradOwen1. You can follow us at Card Player Media, and also don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. Go the extra mile with a nice rating and review, and let us know you did so in an email to pokerstories@cardplayer.com for a free digital subscription to Card Player Magazine. Thanks for listening.